You're going to
3
see.
minutes and 11 seconds. People are not gonna make it.
You're live. I'm testing my cameras. Okay, let's see. I'm not quite right there. Let's get this right. Hello, everybody who's already there early. David Hoffman setting himself up. And it should be live now. Is it live, Heidi? What do you see?
It's the same screen.
That thing.
It says
That's
2
kind of.
minutes and 45 seconds.
I don't know. Henry Hoffman says, yes, it's live. So you're not seeing live? Okay. So David Hoffman is checking out everything. This is my edit suite. And I'm not, eye contact is not quite right. How do I do that? I go there. Hello from Ireland. Oh, man, is that nice? God damn, this is fun, sort of. Somebody would have fun in it, but I don't know about me. Okay, so I'm early. So for all of you who are talking, it's so nice. I'm going to wait until the appropriate moment. Correct? Okay. Let's see. Scotland. Oh, God, would I like to go there? Alabama. Wonderful. New Jersey. I work with people from New Jersey when I was back east. Hope you're all hearing me. I assume you're hearing me. Let's make sure that Austria, Australia, London, middle of the night. How nice, how nice, how nice. Yeah. Just tell me somebody that you can hear David Hoffman speaking. I see all these wonderful people. Holy moly. Oh, you can hear me. Thank you very much. Okay. We hear you, says Joe. Oh, boy. I got to say, this is super exciting. Geez, wow. You hear me from Arizona. This is beautiful. Lynchburg, Utah. All places I'd like to visit. Maybe I could have this invite list, between 81 and 91, where me and maybe the family, when the stupid COVID thing allows me, maybe it does, to visit, have a meal with cookies. Oh, man. Rio de Janeiro. My wife went there once, a long time ago. I have never been. Iowa. I've been in Iowa. I never made a film in Iowa, but I made a really good film in Kansas. Wisconsin. My sister lives in Madison for 40 years. Another person from England that is so kind to stay up this late to see if David Hoffman can do a live stream. You know what I mean? New York City, my home, one of my homes, certainly my home where I was born. Vancouver, love it. Love it, love it. Haven't spent enough time. Las Vegas hears me. Albany, New York, not my favorite place because it's kind of cold and a little old, state government and everything, but you might like it. Yorkshire is in the north. It's 10:30. Bing! I'm going to wait a few minutes and then I'm going to give this thing a try. It's you and me, guys and girls. Belize, that's where I want to visit because the water's warm. Saudi Arabia, I've been there. That's worth a story. What David Hoffman did in Saudi Arabia. Denver, Colorado, been there. This is fun. Somerset, been there. Shreveport, Louisiana. I've been to Louisiana, but I've never been to Shreveport. I know there's a lot there. Rhode Island, my family's ancestral home. It's 10:30 boring, my wife is saying. I'm not boring. I know that. You're just checking in. Now, okay. I'm going to wait a few minutes. I'm going to let people check in. Now, for questions, you see, there's this super chat and super thanks buttons. Lucy knows what they are. Maybe she could show one, but the super chat means you want to ask me something. And I'm looking to do this. I'm doing this, which scares the hell out of me, partially for the feeling of the community, the decency of our community, and partly for the income that I might be able to get because YouTube is failing me right now. It ain't doing, I don't get a lot of views relative to what the algorithm demands. So there's super chat and there's super thanks. Super thanks means you just like it. Super chat means you got a question, maybe. And I'd like to do something about that. Somebody's saying from Greece, it'd be cool to do what I did in Saudi Arabia. Yeek, Fort Collins, I've been there. It's nice to say to you that I've been these places. And the only reason I've been these places for the most part is work. It's always have a kind of a thing that I did there. And anyway, I'm going to attempt to answer questions which are asked in either super thanks, that's the one, or super chat, which is the one you click super chat. If you click super thanks, you're going to get a thank you from me. Um, but I'm going to start. Shalom from Southern California, where it rained like hell. Lucy, oh man, Lucy just gave me a super thanks. You can see it. That is beautiful, Lucy, and I thank you for it because I don't really know what's going to happen yet, but I'm not ready to start just yet. We're just going to see because people are checking in. Saskatchewan, I have relatives, but I've never been. Love to go. Now, let's see. Right now, there are 175 people on this chat. Yikes. This is like speaking in a concert hall. This is like speaking in a theater, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm about to do. And I'm going to share some thoughts. And $50, yeah, Lucy, up in her mountain there in the valley she is in the middle of nowhere, very kind to me. It helps. When confidence goes down, what are we talking about here? I mean, my son tells me about live streams with guys who have all kinds of gaming or women who have pretty low cut things. So what's David Hoffman got? Well, I've got some ideas for what I'm going to talk about on this super live stream. If you like it, here's the last I'm going to say about it. Click super thanks. If you've got something you want to say to me that you want me to stop and think about what you're saying, click super chat. Here we go. The first thing I'd like to talk about is community. Now, many of you are probably old enough to have experienced the older community prior to the internet. And some of you live in places, I know that because I've been looking, that are communities. You still have that sense, like I did in Maine, in my town, Camden, Maine. 10,000 people in the winter, 20,000 people in the summer. We knew each other. When you walked down the street, you knew almost every face, and they knew you. The young people in the teenage years said hello to me as an older man. Hello, sir. It was really nice. You knew people. Now, everybody in town had, I wouldn't call them enemies, but I call them people who shunned each other. They just didn't say hello. Something had happened. They had a fight or something like that. The churches supported the poor. The YMCA was the center. It didn't matter what faith or no faith. I was on the board of the YMCA in my town, and I made a film about it for the YMCA. Beautiful experience. You'd go there on a winter day, and you'd all be together, and you'd swim in the little pool, and there was this real feeling of community. It was beautiful. Now, and I'm not against this, we have a new kind of community. It's an online community. Now, young people and the young people here understand this hugely. They get it. My sons get community. I am dealing with the idea of community. And what am I doing to deal with the idea of community? I am working very hard in what I say and what I do. And I read every comment that I can 3 or 4 hours a day to keep people feeling that we are a community. What are we a community? Thank you very much, Night Heron Productions. I appreciate that. And disgruntled veteran, holy moly. He says, how old were you when you first knew you wanted to document American culture? Uh-huh. Okay, disgruntled veteran, whom I really thank for all of your comments and support. He goes, I never wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. I wanted to survive a rough high school. In this high school, kids beat each other up daily. And I did not know how to fight, never fought, and could not defend myself. But there were 5,000 just about people in my school, or maybe it was 3, but it was thousands of kids hitting at each other. Italians hitting Polish, hitting Jewish. There were no black kids. It was a racist or was a racially divided Long Island. So what did I do? I learned how to talk, and mostly I learned how to listen. I heard the bully talk. I knew what the bully's issues were, and I could react to make certain the bully didn't hit me, and hopefully the bully got something positive out of it. It wasn't just good enough to protect my physical body. I wanted to interact. And so the first profession that came up was 16 millimeter cameras. That's another story, disgruntled veteran. But that's the moment where I said I could pick up a camera, and behind a camera, I could talk to you. Thank you, Doily. Very kind. I could talk to anybody behind that camera. The camera presents a little defense, but it allowed me to go in front of the camera from behind it and find out what people thought. So, what am I really saying to you? Why I entered this profession, why I'm in this profession, why I love this profession is the dialogue and mostly hearing things. Because you hear with 2 ears and 2 eyes. There are some blind members of the community don't have that experience, but they hear with 4 ears. I know that because I've interviewed people and I've been with people who don't have sight. We have some hearing impaired too on our community. But isn't it a community? Let's just take a minute and think the David Hoffman community of subscribers and certainly members and certainly patrons are positive, see life as wonderful in its own way, not to say we don't have tons of problems, which we do, see ourselves as alive, appreciative. You'd think it was all old people. You'd think as you get older, because the statistics show, as you get older, you tend to be more empathetic. Okay, that's true. But we have young people. We have people who are really beautiful on the channel. You ask, how do I maintain it? I have moderators, a few. I pay them. The moderators remove all really disgusting comments, but I want to say something about that. I believe the nation is one, United States. I believe for all those outside the United States, the community of good folk is one because I've been lots of places. Never been to Australia, by the way. Kills me. I want to go. So is my wife. But I've been lots of places where people are kind. Everybody know. There's angry people, there's murderous people, there's hostile people, but people are good for each other, and that's my community. So everywhere I've been is that feeling. So I remove people who are just trolls. I remove trolls, or the moderators do, sometimes making a mistake. I remove people who cross attack other individuals for no reason. I don't like your attitude, so I'm going to attack you. And they use horrible phrases. I mostly remove them, except from a few of my clips. I let people debate out of Hitler documentary more broadly, and several others like that. But in general, when I'm presenting a beautiful moment and people are attacking it for a whole variety of reasons, and I leave as much as I can, or I tell the moderators, and I remove the people who would take this community and break it. Because here's the thing. The partisan divide in America and imagine in the world is real. It's real. And what is it at the root, in my view? It is in order for me to cross that divide and hear people that I don't agree with and understand their point of view, I have to cross to a new worldview. It isn't merely that they think something different than me. It's a different worldview. And if I don't step into their world, I can't even talk with them. I just think they're wrong, stupid, angry, hostile, or whatever. And that's no good. So I do cross that divide and step into the worldview of an evangelical Christian. I am not an evangelical Christian. But that's another story. But I cross into their way so that I can hear them. That's how the community is as broad as it is. People ask me, and my opinion is just another opinion. So I'm not the boss in that way, but I am maintaining and growing the YouTube community in a way that you all want to be part of, and you feel you're sharing. I read the comments; it's so beautiful. from you. And I know you read each other's comments, which is also beautiful. Sorry I'm late, says CT. No, 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 no. Late's good. I've started CT and others, and I've got some things I want to talk about, and I'm hopeful people will use the super chat to. I'm not supposed to say that again, am I? Well, I hope people will use that to ask me questions. And Lucy says, LIvestream. Ha, ha. Don't forget to read questions, says Henry. Henry's helping me out here. He is watching to make sure there aren't trolls. The trolls are unbelievable. You know, on occasion I make a mistake and I think someone is not a troll, and I write back my decent response, and they attack again. And sometimes if I feel they just, I say something which is my view or another way to look at it, and they attack again. If I do that, they're not from my channel. Why? Because it's my channel. This is not an open public forum for everybody on the planet to try and talk. What would that be like? I mean, I lived in Rockport, Maine. I lived on a street with 13 very nice people, Mainers and me. We all had a house. It was all separate bed, about a fair amount of land. You could barely see the other house. And we had a private road. And on that private road, we had a committee, all 13 of us, and we would meet. And you'd think, oh, God, 13 people, they got to get along. We couldn't get along to pave the road. So I said to myself, if we in Rockport, Maine can't get along on this road, how the hell is the United Nations ever going to work? Yike. And I see I got a $20 question. Thanks for being cool. Rocky Top, Tennessee. Oh my God. That's mountain Tennessee, right? That's Appalachia. That's music. That's culture. I was once, when I was making my first documentary, I'm sure you've seen it, the one I made in 1965 on Bascom Lamar Lunsford in Madison County. I believe, I don't know if Madison County is a county in North Carolina that's on the border of Tennessee, but I went to a place that was over the mountain, down the mountain, over the mountain, and down the mountain, into this little teeny valley surrounded by big mountains where you couldn't see the sun for part of the day. And it was right on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. Cannot remember the name of the town. And in that town on a Saturday night, they had you come and you sing and you dance. There was a beer hall next door, but there was no alcohol in this place. And it was fantastic. Kids from the school coming, the culture of that Appalachia, which this Rocky Top, Tennessee guy or girl knows. I'm sure it has its difficulties. And they did then. Poverty was real. Families had no teeth, some of them. So, how are we doing, Heidi?
Well, this Night Heron Productions wants to know, where do you find access to documentaries from the 90s? Love that era. There's some that I saw, but I can't find it today.
Oh boy, where do I find access to the documentaries from the 90s? Tell you the truth, I don't. It's all in my archive. My archive started when I was maybe 28 years old, when I stupidly didn't realize that all my outtakes had history. Can you believe that? I dump them. They were in my apartment. Get them out of there. Big cans of 35 millimeter and 16 millimeter. I didn't realize it. But I did see that collecting all the work that I did, and I was a cameraman as well as a director, so people hired me. I was part of crews of 16 millimeter guys who were independents at that time. And also, if somebody did something I liked, I got a copy. So my archive grew and grew and grew and grew. And in the age of digitization, I've digitized thousands of between my films I shot, and films I collected. And that's how I got them. Okay. Heidi Hoffman is saying, spelling Lucy wrong. David has the whole family in production this morning. They don't want to do this because they're more shy than me. And I'm plenty, I can't say shy. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe you people. A $4.99 question. I don't know if I get time right now because I got so many of you on. So I've talked about the partisan divide that's on my notes. I want to bring up a few community issues because so many people comment on these issues. Now, we don't have the social media before social media era. And so it's hard to know what in the 1940s, for example, when I was growing up, family life was like. But I do know that a lot of people say family and it's horrible. Their story is horrible. And I'm going to answer this question in 1 minute. Family. Um, I really believe in family. I came from a fabulous family. Can you believe it? My parents didn't fight. And they let me do whatever I wanted. There was no discipline. I don't know anything about time out. It's certainly not spanking. And we had a good time. We laughed our heads off. We had no money. Family laughed our heads off, going to the Carvel, going down and sitting in the sun together. My father was kind of a hilarious guy because he never smiled. He made his jokes without a smile. My mother was beautiful, powerful, ran the family in a lot of ways. My dad made the money. My mom had the beauty. And it was fun. And that's how I've raised my kids with my wife. Fun. But a lot of people don't have that. Now, was it that way in the 40s? People are saying it was so better in the 50s, so better. It wasn't so better. How do I know that? I interviewed hundreds of people about their experiences growing up. How did I select them? Because they could talk from around the country. And many people had very bad 1950s growing up experiences. So all they remember is we went out bicycling with our friends and didn't lock our doors. They don't remember that next door was some woman screaming because she got hit, was the cops coming fairly regularly because of injury. I saw that a lot. Violence, alcohol, that's the 50s. Valium, that's also the 50s. Florida, thank you, Kevin. So I wanted to say that about family, that I really try to support everyone's effort to make their family a kind place, all the comments. And when I read these comments about bad family life people have had, it gets me. I don't answer 1/10 of the feelings I have for the terrible things people have had to live through. Parents who did not support them but put them down, made fun of them. There's a classic New England put down, which is, "Well, I didn't go to college. Why do you have to go to college?" Can you believe you don't want your kids to be better than you were? I do not understand that. I thought it was a genetic factor in us that we would want our children to be superior to us in every way. That's what I thought. Attitude. I want to say something about attitude because I say it a lot in my comments to you all, and I hear it a lot from others too. So I love the book Think and Grow Rich from the 1920s. The story for which is some young writer, I think he's 27. He goes to interview one of the richest men of the world, American. And the guy says to him, "Look, I'm going to do this interview, and you're not going to get paid for it, but I'm going to tell you what the answer is to your question, Think and Grow Rich. And then you're going to ask five of my buddies, and they're all going to say the same thing. And I'm not going to tell them, and you're not going to get paid." And that's what happened. And he wrote this book. And what the guy says is the universe wants to give you what you want. You could call it God. I call it God some of the time, and some of the time the universe. It wants to give you what you want. Well, how does it know what you want? And by the way, this guy said everything in the universe, the solar system wants to do, everything's trying to get better all the time. The whole thing, he said. So your attitude says, if that's the case, I better be telling the universe what I want. And if I'm saying, no, 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 bad, 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 scare, 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 horrible, horrible, don't do that, it's going to think that's what I want. That's why he said attitude is so important. If your attitude is, it's going to be good, it's going to be better up to the last day of your life, it's going to be positive, it's going to help. If that's your attitude, the universe says, oh, and it's more likely to give you what you want. But if it's getting missed signals by your own thinking and feeling, so when I have negative attitudes, or really mostly fears, uncertainties, Jesus Christ, you know what it's like to be 81 years old? Every single day on the news, somebody younger than me is dying. That ain't fun. And also, they're always talking about this when you're 80, because the 65, this is going to happen to you, 70, this is going to happen to you. Scary stuff. And I know it's going to happen. But my attitude has to be, get that aside, David. That ain't what's going on right now. And I tried to share that in one or two lines with many of you when I see that what you're saying is a way of looking at something where there's another way it could be looked at, which could sound both corny and dumb, but it isn't. So this guy went and interviewed the other five people, and what did they say? The same thing he said. The universe gives you what you want, or it tries to. Mm. James is only 20. You got a long way to go. That's right. That's right. I got to say one thing to the young people who are watching this, and that is mentors. My dad was a mentor, but he taught me how to listen to mentors. So by the time I met my first mentors, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, entering the documentary world, I knew how to ask for and get advice. I knew how to listen. I know how to follow. I know how to watch the older guy without suspicion. And maybe sometimes because I'm competitive, how I could do it better than he did. You got to have good mentors. And a lot of people don't have good mentors in their dads. If your dad, it wasn't good, then you got to find it in the outside world. Mentoring for young people is critical. I tried to answer the young people who write on YouTube with a bit of mentoring, and I hope that I'm seen that way. Thank you. Now, I want to talk about believe, 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 says Stargazer. Ah, you need that gratitude. Yes, Heidi.
Someone's asking you, in all your years, would you say the last few years were the most difficult?
Oh boy, in all my years, someone says, with the last few years, the most difficult. No, the most difficult was my early life as a professional. No, most difficult were my early life as a professional because of anxiety, real anxiety, which I no longer have in the way that I did, was something I had to learn. What is anxiety? Because excitement and anxiety, as you know, are so close. Am I excited or am I anxious about this event going on right now? It's both. I had to learn what anxiety was. Two, I had to learn how to deal with it. You can't ignore it because it will kill you. If you pay attention to it all the time, you can't do anything. It restricts you. It's your ego going, worry, 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 like that. So I had to learn how to deal with it. Oh, that's anxiety. All right, I'm going to let you out for a minute. And then, out of self respect, I'm not going to let you do me in. So I saw it as an enemy, not an ally, most of the time. I'm not going to let you do me in. You're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do, what I need to do, because that would make me feel bad about myself. And my mother told me, and boy, she was right. And one of my mentors told me his mother told him, and he spent 7 years in a North Vietnamese prison, and he survived. My mother told me there are two ways to look at life: be happy or satisfaction. She said, happy is momentary. You're happy. I'm happy. You can't always be happy. So then I'm not happy. My mother said, at the end of the night, at the start of the night, when you put your pillow on the bed, do you say to yourself, well, I was happy? Or do you say, I'm satisfied? And what is satisfaction? Doing right by your own values, doing right by what you feel inside, by your heart and your gut. And if I do right when I put my head on the pillow, it's an easy sleep. I wake up in the morning with sometimes a bit of anxiety about a thing like this going on right now. Am I going to do something that holds your audience? Am I going to do something that rewards me? Am I going to do something that I don't hear after, David, you should not have done that? It's anxiety. Thank you, Kim. So I say, be happy for a moment or two, but think of satisfaction at the end of the day. And think, yes, Heidi,
Ten the gardener wants to know, what do you think of medical marijuana?
what do I think of medical marijuana? Great. I've always been well, in the, I think I said this once to my members, but you guys haven't heard it, that when I was 16, my friend Jonathan, he went to Harlem at night and he bought a $5 bag of marijuana because he had read about it in French journals. Nobody in the school had it, as far as we know. And we tried the marijuana and things got more creative. So I was never against it and never addicted to it. Um, so I feel that it's totally good. Now, can kids blow it? You bet. My kids have so far, thank God, not gone that route because their parents have said it's going to fuck up your brains. That's why. Um, is it worse than alcohol? Much better than alcohol. I saw Alcoholics at 16, didn't you? In school. I had an 18-year-old friend. He was so destroyed by alcohol in high school. Medical marijuana, well, I don't live with young people except my sons, so I don't know what's happening in the school. I know there are two groups. My wife described this when she was growing up: the dope heads and the not. The dope heads they ignored the not, and the not didn't like the dope heads. The dope heads were kind of stupid for kids. They were kind of goofy. They had such a good time. That's my thought, my 2 seconds on that. Oh boy, this is wonderful to see more people than I've ever seen, and I'll hear from my son at the end whether he had to remove anyone. I don't know, uh, but I thank you for the super chats and the super thanks. They help make me feel like I did my job for today. Want to put my head on the pillow. Did David Hoffman do good today? Well, success here in this first public live stream. Am I different in the public live stream than I am in the videos you've seen for years where I started to put myself in? My character was not to put myself in films. There are very few films of my 2000 clips that have David Hoffman in the early days. Sing Sing does, the prison, because I had to speak to the men and I had to put in the film if they were behind that line, they wouldn't be photographed. So that it was a legal issue. But I never was in films. And then I started to notice that when I just ran my clips on YouTube, a lot of people, particularly young people, didn't get it because they didn't have my history. They didn't know why that moment was important. They didn't know my perspective of filming it, why it looks the way it does. So I started to share so that younger people would know more before the video started or get a tease and then me and then the video. And that's what I do now. I post a lot without me because I think they're pretty clear what's going on. And I post a lot with me because I don't want history to see these clips and go, that's weird, or whatever they would say, when it's not weird if you think of the context. Certainly, teenagers are fascinated by teenagers. And I've been fascinated by teenagers since I was a teenager. It's amazing. Sort of adults, but not messing up because the men don't have prefrontal cortex. They couldn't think beyond the head, including me. I just was reading yesterday a letter from my mother to me because I didn't take out the garbage ever. And she kept on trying to make me do it. And one time she put the garbage bags in front of my bedroom and I stepped over them. So the big rebellion for me was the garbage bags. I learned later when I'm like 20, my mother says, hey, remember the battles we had over the garbage bags on the belt that you wore? I set those up purposely so we wouldn't be fighting about the big picture. I learned that my mother planned the debate with me, her very rebellious son. But I wasn't a dopehead, wasn't an alcoholic, was hardly any dope. I mean, alcoholic, didn't get join things, didn't steal things. I rebelled against my mother about the shower. You're going to have to take a shower before you go to school, she said. Without discipline, I knew there's no discipline in my house. I said, I'm never taking a shower again every 6 weeks. What do we need a shower for? That's Western civilization. I would have said you're wasting water. But anyway, whatever I said, I didn't take a shower until I decided some girl, I think, wanted me to. I think that's what motivated me. Um,
Someone's asking you, what do you think about dating apps?
what do I think about dating apps? That's really funny. What do I think about them? Well, when I was a single man, which was a very short part of my life, I would definitely have gone to an app because I feel when I talk to you, I feel you're getting things you could never get that I could write. So the dating apps when I was younger, 50s and 60s and 70s, and maybe now I hope have video possibility. I can show you my look and the way I talk. And for men, of course, on the chart that Playboy magazine printed, I thought that was really interesting. We have looks as number one. Does that make us smart? No. Does that make us wise? Is that stupid? Yep. But it is. Women, have looks number three and number four if they're over the age 25. So they're much smarter. But I can see not only the look of the woman, mm, but I can see also the attitude a little bit. And how do I do that? I'm about to share with you a real secret. Does anyone want to super chat? Somebody super chat the damn secret before I say it, please. Super chat or super thanks or something. I'm going to tell you a real secret about how I learned to really get through the haze of people. Welcome to the David Hoffman community. You bet, Chris. That's absolutely true. I don't know how you. Oh, you're a member. Thank you very much. I see. Came out green. Okay. This is a piece of my office, Matthew. You can see these 3/4 beta machines. I got all kinds of machines to digitize everything but film. I cannot digitize 16 and 8 millimeter. I have to send that out, and that's expensive. But my son is always digitizing for me to keep me way ahead of what I can show you. It's part of this lengthy process, which is why the super chat matters. How much time do I spend in the morning to find the right photograph? Thank you, Lucy. To find the right photograph and then to say something about it that's meaningful. It has to be meaningful to me at that moment. How much time do I spend digitizing, then editing? Because no film that I show you has not been edited for my audience now. Different from my audience when I was young. Different. Now, the audience, it works a certain faster editing speed, but not too fast. It ignores the slower. Documentaries used to be slower. And if I don't edit it, it's too slow for the present mindset. And 63% of you are watching on your cell phones. And sometimes vertical, even though I got a horizontal image, you're watching like this, So I got to think to myself, I can't let that run too long. And then I watch, because I read YouTube analytics, what you are watching and how long and who's dropping off. More men, more women, age groups. I think I mentioned before that my age group is very interesting. Hardly any under 18. I don't know if anyone here is under 18. A large group between 25 and 50, and a large group over 65. So I have two audiences, my generation, the over 65ers, and this up and coming audience, and this up and coming audience of adults who have thoughts. I'm not a gamer and I don't present that kind of stuff. You're like the old school version of Mox News. I never saw Mox News. Stephen. Okay, you know what? Oh, good night, says Janet. Oh, hope she's still here. I don't know if she is.
Lucy says, tell us, please, this evening.
Okay, here we come. So the first thing I do when I confront another human being in any form, whether it be my loved ones, my family, the world outside, I acknowledge my prejudices. Number one, don't say them out loud. Person's old, person's fat, person's ugly, person's great, person's good looking, person seems smart, person's rich, person blah, blah, whatever's in my brain. I acknowledge to myself in a millisecond, and I've gotten very fast at it. No blocking David Hoffman from looking first at him. Then I take those, let's call them prejudges. I take these prejudges and I move them to the side. Very interesting what you think, David. Now ignore it. And then I go to a completely open ear. It doesn't have any values. It doesn't think anything. It's just listening. That's how I listen. When I listen that way, later I'll bring in my judgments and see if they still apply. Right now, I'm listening. What do I hear? It's always something I didn't expect. With sympathy. Oh, that person's very sympathetic. I didn't know that. That person's really been wounded. Didn't know that. They might not be saying those words because at that level of hearing, what I'm hearing isn't what they're saying. It's what they're saying plus what I'm hearing, seeing. Don't know if I could do this without my eyes. And what I'm hearing, seeing is something different than I would think if I still had my blinders. I remember the moment when I became conscious of my blinders. I wasn't until my early 30s. And a guy was talking about swinging, couples going together, having sex in places with other couples, which he did. And he was a good friend of mine. And he wanted to tell me about it. And I started attacking it in my head and to him. I would never do that. That's not love, blah, blah, blah. All the things. I attacked him before he ever said what he thought. And right in the middle, I saw myself doing it. And I stopped. It was a moment of huge epiphany awareness for me. And I said, look, friend, tell me again why you do this. And I just listened. And I had no values. It's not what I would do. Didn't make me, doesn't threaten me. It's not what I should do. All those things I put aside. And so I really heard what he got out of it and why he and his wife more reluctantly did it. That's how I listen. It requires an awareness of what's in your head, filtering. And you know how crazy filters are. I mean, there are some people who you say, would you mind grabbing the newspaper for me? And they say, well, I got it for you yesterday. It's an attack to them. It was not an attack, but they heard an attack. So what do they hear? They hear what you say plus what they think. If you don't know what you think, you're not hearing anything. Everything's being filtered by your thoughts, which you don't hear. And when I'm communicating with people, making something in the form of a communication, I have to know what my audience thinks before I create that work of art, that work of communication, that work of movie making, work of documentary. Because when I know what my audience thinks, I can then ask the questions in a way that would hopefully get around the blocks and let people hear more. If you watch my interviews, that is my technique. And I know I'm good at it. My interviews are yes, how did David get those things from other people? How does he do that? He does it because he knows his prejudices and he puts them aside. All prejudges is what it is. Prejudice sounds like, well, that's not a prejudice. That's just a feeling. It's a prejudge. And I continue to learn too. So I guess some of this is aging. When you ask a pretty or handsome person what it means to them that they feel that way, I've got many answers to that question. Some of them being, I don't ever notice and I don't want to notice. Some of them being, it's a big advantage. So, but if I ask the question right and then I just acknowledge they're beautiful, then I get a very interesting answer. So I am provocative in my questions. You don't always hear them because I edit them out. Why do I edit them out? It ain't the point. It's about the other person, not me. So the fact that I asked a 30-second question that provokes that answer is only interesting to other filmmakers and sometimes to people. Sometimes my wife, who is one of my top editors, she leaves that in. She leaves my comments and questions on occasion, but a lot of times they're irrelevant to the other person. Thank you very much, Miles and others. Um, so one of the things I'm asking myself is, who wants to be here? Who are you? Now, I know a lot about a lot of you because I read the comments. I don't always remember the name, although I remember a lot of names. And you don't always have to kiss my ass to get me to pay attention. But I don't know how many people right now, for example, are trolling. They're not saying anything. They're just watching. And I don't know those people. I like the people who take the risk of communicating like we're doing right now. Many are on autopilot, says Lisa, autopilot. And so they don't even stop to use good judgment and fair thinking. You're talking about the speaker, not about the listener. Who is the speaker when David talks, when David asks questions, when David allows people to speak? I start with a speech. And it says, number one, this is super important. Be nervous. You know how amateurs are always saying, don't be nervous, don't be nervous. It's nothing. It's really nothing. It is something. You're being recorded for hundreds of years from now. Be nervous. Two, if you fake it, the audience is going to know. And as time goes by, a more sophisticated audience watching video is going to know more and more and more. Young people are really good at picking out bullshit. I think, Heidi, yes, Heidi.
Night Heron wants to know, can we get a video from your son on how to digitize old formats like VHS? And second, I'm an amateur documentary filmer. Wildlife specifically, what advice would you
Yeah, those are really specific questions. And I think I should answer them. How much did you? $40. God, that's a lot of money you just gave me. The real simple answer is write me an email. My office email address, all in a day, ALLINADAY at AOL.com. And I will answer your question about how to digitize properly, because let me tell you, this is the future we're talking about. And that's what I tell these people in these interviews. I was saying, you are recording not for the present. You are recording for the future. How much in the future, they say? 50 years. So everything you're talking about, the cell phone doesn't exist. People don't even know what it means. It's like the soda fountain. What's a soda fountain in the pharmacy? What does that mean if you didn't go through it? So forget all that. Forget your address. Forget all that. You tell me what you think 50 years from now people are going to want to hear about, and I'm going to ask you those questions. And what do people want to know? I already know. I started making film 62 years ago. I know what people are asking. One, they're asking, is this old person that I'm hearing, my relative or whatever, how did they get through the bad times? Dating, money, stress, family. Who do they think they are as people? What do they want their loved ones to feel? Those things stick. What doesn't stick is baloney stories about in 1936, I went to 344 Columbus Avenue and I worked in a laundromat. I say, yeah, tell these people what happened in that laundromat. What did it feel like with the noise and the smell? Then they tell me something that means something. So it's about a certain kind of listening, watching the other person. People on autopilot, I reject their interviews. If I can't get them off autopilot, you're never going to see it on my YouTube channel. A lot of people on autopilot. My God, their responses 50 ways from Sunday are exactly the same, right?
What's how was your eye surgery?
How was my eye surgery? Let me start by saying I'm not only a hypochondriac, but I'm a lifelong hypochondriac. It scares the hell out of me to go to the doctor. My lips almost turn blue. I got to almost be carried in. I've been doing that since I was 21, and they said, you have high blood pressure. You better do something about it. And I said, what is high blood pressure? My dad had it too. My grandfather too. My sister too. And he said, it's the way you process anxiety. People process it differently. I don't know if that's true, probably not. But anyway, I'm scared. And even going to cataract, you lie down, the guy sticks some needle in you, which never works. You know how they go feeding around because they got these little teeny veins. Look at that. Can't even see a vein. You do see spots of aging. Jesus, shocks the hell out of me. Anyway, and I sit down, and 13 minutes later, I come out, and the world is very sharp and very bright. I can see people's faces with lines in them that are quite beautiful that I didn't see before. It's like, I'd say perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. Thank you for that question about me. I came through it. I'm not wearing glasses. I'm happier with glasses in a way, but someone said this morning they make me look older, and I think that's. Do I want to look older? No. Do I want to look younger? I don't much care what I look like. That's another thing. It's pretty nice to be a male who ain't the best looking on the block. There's always, Brad Pitt. And once you're that, then you become anonymous. And I like being anonymous. I like walking the street, nobody looks at me. If I go, hey, hi, they go, hey, hi. And since I've had white hair and get treated like an old man, that's heaven in the airport. Oh my God, I'm treated gloriously by people, always being helped. And sometimes I need the help, by the way. I don't bend over like I used to. I don't like that. And I also sign a little differently. My lettering's a little sloppy. Would you write that out for me? Oh, please. So those of you who aren't that age yet don't know the feeling of being treated respectfully for your age, which a lot of people do, young and old. It makes them feel good. Grandpa. I ain't no grandpa, but I look like one. And I always thank people, extra thanks, the workers. Many of you do that also. I know that. I thank the person who delivers the food, who does the UPS. God, I went to the post office with my wife, and the guy, he looks harried. It's the end of the day. He doesn't look good. So I said, how's your job? And he said, horrible. And I said, what's horrible? And he said something really profound. Every day, at the end of the day, he said, that basket is empty. And the next day when I come to work, it's full again, exactly the same. I empty it and it's full. I empty it and it's full. Also, he said, there's constant change. Same envelope, same this. And so it's constantly a new one. You never complete a task. And I said, that must be hell. Because when I do this thing with you, when it's over, when the time ends, it's over. I'm done. I don't have to do it. He has to do it. Every single thing is another thing. It never comes to an end. I thought that was brilliant. Mr. Connecticut. Oh my God, Mr. Connecticut.
People keep asking how you related to Dustin.
Oh boy, am I related to Dustin Hoffman? So maybe, good likelihood. My dad, they said he was an orphan and he became Jewish in a Jewish orphanage. But I have a photograph of his dad, John Hoffman, and I have my father being, what do they call it, Heidi? Christened. I have my father being christened. Jews don't christen, so I don't know. But he had a brother, my grandfather, and my grandfather's brother went to LA and other places like that. And I look a lot like Dustin Hoffman, who also has Romanian in him. And my grandfather and his brother didn't get along, and I don't know who they are. So am I related to Dustin Hoffman? It wouldn't be bad if I was, huh? Did I come from a man who taught me things about creativity that are priceless? Yes. He taught me where creativity came from in me as we would do it together, how much fun it was. And now in that space, at least initially, there was no criticism. When the brainstorm is happening, my dad and he taught me that. Later, he was a horrible critic of his own work, and I'm rough, but not that rough as he was. But early on, there's no judgment about it. It's just an idea. Oh yeah, that's an idea. It's a bubble. Let's look at that bubble. Whatever the bubble is, it's so freeing. Mm. One thing I want to say before this is over to you all is about a lot. 'Cause I'm answering a question a lot of people have asked me. How do you find your passion? Because it's obvious I have it. I've always had it, not only in the workspace, but in the personal space also. What do you do if you can't find your passion? And they got all kinds of programs and videotapes, and YouTube has a ton on it. Maybe that works. My proposal is if you don't have passion, which comes from the inside and totally obsesses you, you think about it at night, you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, it's still there, you're writing notes to yourself. That's passion. Don't worry, because there's something else below it that many, many more people have. So if you spend your life trying to find your passion, I don't think you do. It either comes to you or it doesn't. Lucky if it does. But below that, there's curiosity. Now, let me stop and say, if you're not curious, let's talk, wait, put that aside. Most people have curiosity. What are you curious about? That's not passion. Just go there. More there. More there. More. I'm curious. I'm curious about why I like little things. I've been buying little things, little sculptures, little this, little that, little bottles since I was a kid. I don't know why, but that's a curiosity, and it's caused me to go many places looking for little things. You all, almost all, have curiosity. Now, if you don't have curiosity, it seems to me you're depressed because life is too amazing not to be curious. I can't conceive that, but I know people feel that way. So, what I say to you about passion and curiosity is look for the curiosity and take the time to do it when you can. Yeah. James says his passion is history. If you got passion, passion drives enormous amounts of creativity. I mean, many Steven Spielberg level directors would say, as I've interviewed some, I interviewed Steven, that he's just fascinated by his own ideas. It's not egomaniacal, although it has an ego involved. It's way beyond that. I'm fascinated with what I think. I'm fascinated with what I'm saying to you right now. I am. Will I ever watch it again? I doubt it. Will I get reviews from you? Yep. And from family members. Am I doing a good job? I don't know right now. Do I feel comfortable talking to you? Yeah. Am I saying things that I think will help people? Yeah. Am I spending a lot of time bitching and moaning? No. Pretty good, huh? Brian, thank you. So, like laundry and dishes, you bet. Now, I didn't really know that because I never did the laundry in my house and I never did the dishes. That was given to my mother and my sister. And in any marital relationship I was in, and my wife, the love of my life, despises the dishes. I don't mean she doesn't like them. She's sickened by them. And the laundry, there has never been a time she's done the laundry and hasn't told me how stinky, awful, and humiliating this is. Yep, it's like that. Now, what do I do like that? Can't lie. Um, Nothing. I don't do anything that doesn't have an end. Take private time in the bathroom to do a poop, but that's repeating. That ain't it, is it? No. What inspires me? Inspiration is a funny word. Inspiration, I guess you mean inspired to be fascinated, not creative. And in terms of inspires, no one. I'm not inspired by another being. I have met many beings who I admire, who are admirable. I'll say that's an admirable person, what that person does. Certainly, some of the rich that I've worked for, some of the rich that I've worked for don't have to do what they're doing, and some don't, but some do. They go out of their way. Maybe there's a responsibility and a guilt, but I don't feel inspired. John Kennedy was a three-dimensional president, right? Did terrible things with women to his wife. A lot of admirable things. The four-star general, who was a very close friend of mine, recently died. Um, Boy, I admire what he's been through and how his patriotism worked for him, but it does not inspire me. I'm inspired from the inside, from my own value judgments. So if at the top of the list is my values, am I talking to you right now in a way that is valuable for you? My values, that's the top of my list. And my values are coming from the inside me. Now, what if you go inside yourself and you have values which are, you think bad, like, I want to kill the other guy. I want to put him down. I want to stop him. He's too much. I don't think those are your values speaking. I think those are your fears. Your fears are speaking. Values, when I look at my values and I'm doing something which I don't respect, and I put my head on the pillow, it stinks. And when I get up in the morning, it's still there, kind of in the pit of my stomach. I find out by talking about it, by saying what's going on, by admitting to my failure in that regard regarding my own values, it goes away some. But if I hide it, try and shovel it into the background, it's sticking there all the time and I feel awful. Yeah, somebody's saying you
Can
can wash.
passion come and go? And how do you find your passion? And can your passion change through one?
Someone's asked, do passions come and go? Sure, because life circumstance gets in the way to some extent. I collected my photographs that I show every morning passionately every single night on eBay and before eBay going to antique shows and antique shops. I loved it. That era is gone for me, but I still love the photographs when I look at them. I have this garage, and in the garage is old shit that I love that I bought up to 65 years ago. And I go there and I look at this little pamphlet or this photograph or this album or this book, and I can remember where I got it, but more importantly, how I felt. The same old feeling goes back to me. So when I'm feeling anxious or like I'm not making my daily bread today, which makes me anxious, I'm not doing my job as a breadwinner of my family. I go in the garage, I open the garage, and I look at some of these little things, and these old memories come back. I'm not nostalgic, but those old things brings back the passion. I don't worry about any passion that's gone because I'm going to find another one. And if I can't, I'm going to go to curiosity. What am I curious about? And if you're really not curious about anything, you have burnout. I'm saying if it's not depression, it's burnout. And I've seen people with burnout. I made 2 films on it regarding nurses, and it's real. Nothing has any feeling. They're depressed, but more, they're burned out. They need to get away for at least 3 weeks. I haven't had a 3-week vacation in 40 years, but I've had a couple of 1-week and 12-day vacations. And you come back and you feel different, don't you? When you enter the home and you go inside your house and everything looks different, hopefully good.
What's your favorite subject to do documentary films about?
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
What's your favorite documentary subject?
What is my favorite documentary subject? I don't have a favorite subject at all. I can tell you it's pretty damn easy to film bluegrass or B.B. King. Why is it easy? Because they're great, aren't they? It's a lot harder to film than ordinary person, who I also think are great. So often I'm playing ordinary people, and you're going to see more in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of ordinary people. I've got lots of ordinary people, and I love them. So I have no documentary subject. Lots of documentary filmmakers do. So I'm not putting it down. I'm interested in the Amazon. I want to do something on Beatles. That's not me. Also, I did so much work for hire where the other guy had the passion. My job was to find the story, how to express his passion, her passion in the best possible way. It was fun. I didn't have the passion, but I got to find a way to make you feel that other person's passion, certainly in the oil industry. I never wanted to be an oil man, but I sure made great stuff on oil men for the oil company that hired me. So people are leaving. Bye for now. It's 1 hour, and I'm going to be leaving too shortly. Um, and somebody's just getting started, says Henry. Who's that? Who's getting started? Yeah. So I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity and for being here, and largely for staying here. I mean, we've gotten about 250 people the entire time, and 353 likes, and some money in the bank. Whew, I feel about that too. And I'm going to do it again into the new year, and we'll see. Can I build an audience here? Do people think this is worth an hour of their time?
Amelia says she's turning 20 in 2 days, and part of her feels like her life is ending. Any thoughts to share?
Oh, Amelia,
Henry said it's
Are
just
you-
getting started.
are you feeling that your life is ending, meaning everything has been lived? Or let's put it this way. Your feeling, Amelia, is totally incorrect. Totally incorrect. Now, feelings can be unbelievably wrong. I do not trust my feelings as much as my wife trusts hers, which seem to be coming from a deeper place. I trust my gut and my heart, but those give me feelings oftentimes, and a feeling can be wrong. A feeling can be, I'm too fat. That's a feeling. Factually, I might be, but I might not be, as you know. So I don't know, being 20 and feeling things are over is wrong. It's a feeling. You got to say, feeling incorrect. Ah, Stargazer says, much love. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Charlie. I know some of the people on here, and there's lots I don't. Do this. You can comment on this, I think, because it's a public stream. I'd like to know what you think. I may or may not do it right because I'm not motivated. I'm not motivated by your thinking, but it sure helps to improve me, which I desire. I want to get better and better and better. I want to be the best 85-year-old guy that's ever been on YouTube. That'd be my goal, with a huge, wonderful audience, a wonderful community, making a good living. I can do it. I believe I can do it. So I have faith in myself. Don't have so much faith in the YouTube system, but it's what is. There's always been a what is in the professional world that I work in. Okay. Thank you for these comments, everyone in the chat. Oh man, that's great. He feels like a beloved uncle. That's nice. I agree. God bless everyone here. It's true. Good people. We are good people. Trying to be good people. Living to feel life. Getting that feeling that the ordinary is extraordinary. That's one of my shirts. Another of my shirts is everything becomes history 1 second later. You should look at David Hoffman's merch. Yes, David Hoffman's merch. It's Christmas time. Lucy sent me a picture of herself wearing several of my merches. Some might help. I believe in standing behind T-shirts, like I believe in standing behind medals. The cop and the soldier have all these medals. And Anne Hand, Hand, she made medals for women that I think are just glorious jewelry.
So someone wants to know, have you ever recorded a UFO? You have a good story.
I have never recorded a UFO. I have a story on a UFO. Have you seen it? My clip? Search UFO on my channel and you'll see my clip of what my sound man heard or says he heard. And I don't think he was lying. But no, I've never recorded. I don't do that kind of thing. I work on jobs. Jobs are complicated. The equipment is complicated. You don't just yank it out and sort of shoot. You got an idea. You're focusing on the idea. You're trying to tell that story. And now, of course, most of my stories are ones I did in the past or pieces of them with a little addition from me a fair amount of the time. Yeah, boy. Eileen says nothing stays the same. Everything changes. Man, is that true? That's unbelievably exciting and unbelievably terrifying. You want it to stay the same. I want to get up in the morning as a man and feel like I did yesterday. Mostly I do. I don't think women have that experience. They don't get up every morning and feel exactly as they did and want to feel that way. Whew, I feel like I did. That's good. I do check in every day with myself by doing my habits. Now, where?
Sean wants to thank everyone who served in the U.S. military. So do we, but I don't know what it has to do with this.
Yep.
But we sure feel it.
I don't know how many are on this chat, Sean, that feel as we do about the military. Both Heidi and I come from military families. And yeah. And you know what, Sean? You've probably been seeing this in my Vietnam clips that I'm running. The comments are way more powerful than my clips. My clips are good. But the comments, the people, children and grandchildren, describing what they heard from their fathers, I didn't realize, I didn't understand how rough, bad, horrible the Vietnam War was for the people who fought it, how hard that was. And there's reasons why, and some people talk about it in the chat, but their comments are touching to me. I try to like as many as I can of children and grandchildren describing what they saw in their own home. Really hard. Thank you, Amelia. It's very nice what you folks are saying to the young woman who's not feeling so good about the future. Are you on any other platforms? Nope. You know why? It takes too much time, too much work. This is really hard. I'm working 10, 12 hours a day, and I'm seeking the help of my family who has other things to do. So that's enough. I don't have another. This is it. And YouTube's great in that it finds audience like you guys. And you stay. You'll have to view what you missed, Owen. Sorry about that. Josh, 36 missions. Oh boy. Thank you. Just Gene. Thank you, Hoffman family. We appreciate you. That's very kind. My family needs a pat on the back. I probably have to pay them too. What do you think?
Do you practice meditation, prayer, or any other self-care practices?
I do my own. I did meditation for 6 years. Transcendental meditation was wonderful. No, not anymore. A prayer that I do is as it comes to me, always alone. Yes, I do. I thank everybody and everything, God and the universe, for giving me the life I'm living. So it's a thank you.
Are your boys interested in film?
My boy's interested in film. That's very nice of you. One of my sons couldn't stand it. He's mostly interested in helping his generation, my oldest son, to feel better about the life we're living rather than so negatively. His generation, the 21-year-olds like he is. My younger son, 16-year-old Davy, he wants film, but he's not sure of the many, many varieties of film that there are. I mean, right? He may want to be a filmmaker. He may want to do advertising. He loves ads on television. He's so many options for him. He just knows he's good at it, and he is good at it. It's strange what that means, but that's another live stream. What does it mean to be good at documentary filmmaking? Okay, so David Hoffman is going to hit the road.
Wait, answer this. How do you see American society in 50 years?
Whoever asked that question, shouldn't they be giving me a major super chat? Whoever said, how do I see American society? Past 7 minutes past an hour. I can't answer that. You're going to have to come to the next live stream. And do you really care how David Hoffman sees it? I mean, it's just another opinion. And I also am a really bad, you should know this, whoever asked this question, predictor of the future. I said cable television was ridiculous. Wiring the United States? So I didn't go into it when it started. I said videotape was ugly. It was. It was like ugly. You could see stuff. So David Hoffman is going to say goodbye and he's going to hit that button that says end the stream. Thank you. Thank my family. Thank the universe.